As promised, I've had a bunch of questions about the elbow escape, so let's go into it now. I like to show this with shorts on because the detail of the foot to the patella of the kneecap is very important, so I want to make sure that I'm showing that without the gi pants, which the extra fabric can sort of obscure your view of that piece of the puzzle. So first posture, I want to make sure that, as always, I'm keeping my partner as far down over my hips as possible. With the upa, the purpose of making sure that I have the full length of my humerus to keep him above my hips is for the purpose of creating maximum connection when I do elevate my hips, of course. In this case, what I want to do is make sure that his foot and foreleg are as close down towards my knee or slightly below my knee as possible. So equally important in both types of escapes. So in this position, ideally I'm not hunched up like this. I want to see if I can move myself so that my elbows are completely nailed to the mat, sitting on top of his knees, not here, not inside, not outside of course, but right on top so that Arthur can't advance. And then from here, depending on his position, I want to make sure that my arms aren't really accessible for my wrists to be easily manipulated. So I'll just take the slack out from here with my arms, my forearms. A lot of times if he's leaning forward, like say you're in kind of Superman position, then that's when I'll just make the one-handed forearm frame across the belt line. Okay, my elbow's still down on that side. On the near side here, you see my arm position doesn't change at all. It just sort of reinforces the top arm. Okay, so the legs I prefer, and I was very happy because John Frankel teaches this exactly the same way. Both of us like to keep the legs down to completely deny the feet coming under the hips. If you needed to, you can bring one leg up to deny his feet being able to touch or to lock, trying to deny the inverted close guard basically. But I like to just keep both of them down the entire time, especially for this escape. There's no real functional reason, if my upper body is in the right posture, to need to have my knees come up. So at least not until I'm going for the very last piece of this. So now from here, what I want to do is not only keep my elbows buried, but to assist that, because somebody may try and pick up my elbow, and even this much of a lift in my elbow, he can advance his hip into that space, beat me with the advancing of his hip. So what I want to do is retract my shoulders, and at the same time, okay, you'll notice a little bit of a motion in Arthur's body. I'm going to try and flatten out my lumbar spine, take the hollow arch out of it. So from here, this is where, when my head is into the mat, okay, my shoulder blades are retracted, my elbow feels the heaviest right now if you try and pick it up. Obviously he doesn't have the gi to do that, but it's going to be really difficult. And now if he leans forward a little bit, right, then I just make my frame. And now I'm in very solid position. I do still have to worry about the threat of the crossface. Okay, so as soon as he feels me orient to this side, the crossface can turn me, completely take me away from that side. So from here, okay, that's where me taking the arch out of my neck and then turning my chin towards my shoulder from here will help with that. It won't prevent it, but it will help. And sometimes I only need, you know, a few moments here to be able to execute this once I'm in the zone. So from here, if Arthur, you go to shoot that crossface in, okay, it slows it. Go ahead, try and turn my head. Okay, it definitely slows it down a little bit when I can do this. And that may be all that I need. So now that's all my upper body, right? But basically from the waist up, that's all in my alignment. Now what I'm going to do from here is first start to fan my legs apart, almost like the first part of a snow angel. You're spreading your legs wide. So I do that first. And you don't get too far, but you will feel the tension from your partner's forelegs as they try and bite in, and their natural flexibility at their knees and hips starts to limit, so you'll kind of fan out as far as you want to. Now, this is the side that I'm picking to escape. So once I simply do an abduction motion, that going out with my legs, then I start to turn the knee on this side up. So you'll see my knees start to shift slightly in this direction, like you're doing the robot. this shoulder can come up just a little bit. How much? Just enough. Because what I want to do, and everybody's flexibility will be a little bit different, is I want to point my kneecap into the mat. So there's no daylight between the tip of my kneecap and the mat. So usually the cue is wherever your toes are pointed, that's your kneecap, right? So while I'm keeping Arthur's knee from advancing up my body, I want to have that. At that moment, when I've turned enough for that to happen, okay, there's no way for Arthur's foot to dig underneath, okay? Here, it looks like minor difference, but here, he can still slide his foot under the shelf of that patellar contact with the mat. So right here, no way to get underneath, and that's all the difference from here. So at this point, I'm going to continue, okay, where I might not be able to spread my legs any further, staying completely square to the ceiling with my hips. Now, by turning slightly, I can continue to bring my knee up, just like this. And the more I do that, the more compromised he becomes, okay? So at this point, a lot of times, especially if Arthur's kind of leaning forward, fighting for a crossface or it's Superman, at this point, this is usually where we go right into the escape. And I just, as I bring this up, it's like a slide rule. As the knee comes up, the elbow feeds his knee in between my legs. And of course, the moment that I have a half guard, I'm immediately looking, okay, to build my base, go to his back, get a sweep, return, close, or open guard, so on and so forth. Okay, but I'm essentially out at that point. So from here, just lean forward, right? So upper body is set, okay? That's the easiest escape. If he's pretty flexible, strong, what have you, that's where I might need to do a little extra motion with my body, and this is where my knee will, on the far side here, will come up, or I'll bring my knee up and put my foot on the mat. So from here, okay, I start to bring this up, okay. The action too, this is where I already talked about scapular retraction. The action of my shoulder now is scapular extension. This is the only shrimping type motion you do. It's really just from the shoulder down. It's this motion, okay? That's it. Just extending my scapula, extending my shoulder in the joint, pushing the elbow down as I bring the knee up. Okay, so he becomes very compromised from here down. Now, if I need to from here, and this isn't doing everything itself, only once I brought my knee as high as I can and I feel he's just about to lose it, do I bring my heel over, catch his instep with my heel, and I drag it in, and now finish the motion. If for some reason he's fighting that by pressing his foot into the mat and I really can't do it, then you'll find you can always hook it. Okay, elevate, bring that in right back into it again. And the other question that I had was, from here, as I start to do this, could Arthur snake his hand in between my arm and my body? So if you sit up a little bit, could he get this underneath and then walk his hand up and start to kill this? And the question is, yes, sometimes people will try and do that. The thing is, if I have my posture set, that is not ever an instant move, even on somebody much stronger than you, okay? It becomes much easier for him if I'm doing more of a traditional shrimp type of motion, right? Where I might have, let's say, I kind of get in here like this, like bring your knee up just a little bit. Bring your knee up a little bit, good. So I'm kind of fighting in here. Now if he comes under, that's way more vulnerable for me. But in this position, if I've made my spine as neutral as possible, it's going to be very difficult. So the answer is, if Arthur goes to get his arm in between my arm and my body, okay, go ahead, start to fight, good. I simply trap him, and now I'm into Upa.